Yeah, it's more like a wedding party where it's more intentional. So like similar problem at a wedding, like maybe you're having a wedding reception after the ceremony's over, and you'd like to have dancing at your ceremony, but everyone's kind of sitting around, they're not dancing, and so of course you start with the married couple, and then you bring in the parents. Perhaps there's a few special dances, but then a good strategy to get people dancing is to have the people who are on the floor go out into the crowd and convince somebody to come with them. So it's way more intentional. And if you can get that going, a similar effect happens. But you have to actually convince somebody like this is a good idea. And it's always hardest to convince the first couple of people. But once you have the movement, it's easy to follow the crowd. So maybe that's a better alignment with what you're talking about here, where it's actually like, how do I persuade to get this thing going inside of this organization and actually affect change versus just being out here dancing all by myself.
Yeah, and the thing I like about that as well is something that when you first start trying to make change inside of organizations, you'll run into this where getting that first couple of followers and getting them going takes a tremendous amount of time. And then at some point you hit this place where they're ready and they're going out and pulling people in. And it seems like now the change happens very quickly. And so someone who's not kind of thinking about the time scale and thinking about all of those different leading things will say, oh, this change happened really fast. And then if you talk about the person who made it happen, they say, you know what, I've been working on this for 3 years. You saw the changes that happened in 3 months at the end of the project.
Yeah, the overnight success that's been, going for a decade. This reminds me, we had a conversation on the changelog with Corey Wilkerson from GitHub, and he talked about affecting change inside of GitHub. You know how GitHub, like they moved everybody over to Codespaces, like their whole engine, I mean, not 100%, but like 90x% of their engineers now use GitHub Codespaces, and they're coding in the cloud, which, talk about something that's difficult to convince an engineer to do is like adopt this new coding environment. And he talked about in detail how he went about evangelizing, leading, persuading people inside of GitHub to try Codespaces, to use it, to adopt it, and how that spread over time to the point where they got there. So that might be, if you're interested in this topic, maybe not on the timeline side, but on like the persuasion side, he gives a lot of actual strategies that he employed to get that done. I'll put that one in the show notes, episode 459 of the changelog. A bigger conversation, but inside that was this deal where he had to do this, not completely by himself, but as a leader inside a large engineering team in order to adopt a brand new way of building stuff. And he got it done.